Welcome back to another episode of the Youth Ministry Booster Podcast. We're so glad to be with you here in the garage today. Chad Higgins, man, summer's almost here.
Yes.
That's pretty exciting.
I'm currently in a battle with spring. It has me now.
Yes.
I will say I have much more voice than I did like 5 days ago.
We actually delayed this recording a few days because you said you were feeling okay, but you sounded rough, my friend.
Yeah, no, it
You
was like
sounded rough.
the trees came in my house and just beat me to death. Me and
As
Pollen,
trees often do.
You know how some people say they have like love-hate relationships, right? Like it's just a hate.
Oh, okay.
Pollen doesn't like me and I don't like Pollen.
Okay.
And it's coming out.
Did you wrong Paul in any way? Was there ever like a time where like you'd go like shake dandelions and be like, "Take that, you weed"?
I blew a lot of them dandelions when I was a kid.
Just blowing them away. Okay.
Did you ever
inhale? Was it one of those?
Oh yeah.
That, like
I got.
and then, like,
I got the
mess with you.
The old trick you play on somebody of like you don't put it to your tongue, but like try to put your mouth over it. It'll immediately just go like to all areas of your mouth, and it'll make you throw up. But
You got a lot of tricks you play on people sometimes.
I didn't play that trick.
You do it. No, you
me.
do. I did it on me. They did it to me. It was to me. Well, I'm glad you're back a little bit better today.
I'm in it. In it to win it.
In it to win it. We had a lot of interesting feedback on our Ministry of Feels episode. A lot of folks said they had not really thought about summer planning that way. And so you kind of brought in that conversation that maybe we should talk about one of the other things. So if you've been a long-time listener, there's a phrase that we kick back and forth.
First-time caller.
First-time caller. I'm talking like after 9 days. So for our folks that have like, we're coming up on year 8 this fall, but back in 2015, 2016, we talked about some of the tenets that we thought were really important for student ministry leaders that like superseded like, what am I going to teach this week? What are we going to be about for this like season or summer camp? And one of the things that we said was really important is that you need to have a principle or philosophy around the ministry of fun.
Yeah.
So do you want to say a little bit more about kind of like our stance on that? And then I wanted to interject it into, I think, the current conversation of where we're at.
The ministry of fun is anytime somebody starts getting too serious, you crack a joke.
You got to crack a joke.
No.
Yeah.
What if that was it?
No, that's how I live my life. Like, it's one of my favorite conversations that we had with Ben in the last little bit because we've been doing more like, employee culture building, team building stuff. I was like, I just need you to know if I ever giggle when things get serious, it's not because I'm choosing that. That's my body rejecting a hard conversation.
Like, nope, don't want this.
I can't do it. Yeah. So, but ministry of fun for the youth pastor in the room.
Yeah, I think there's multiple areas of this when we talk about ministry of fun. Two sides that I'll bring up just really quickly.
Yeah.
Of that one that. There's an understanding that fun is more than just fun. It's not a vacuum that we do.
We don't play games
ministry.
because we ought to play games. We play games because we need to play games.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about adolescents here who primarily up until this point of their life, most of their relationships are built off of fun or play.
Yeah.
But then also part of their dealing with, in the same way, not to call you immature, but in the same way, like that laughter.
Yeah.
When we find ourselves in a difficult situation, fun can both be helpful.
Yeah.
And a way of releasing some of that, or if it's always done, it can be harmful in avoidance.
Yeah.
And so I think for us in being thoughtful ministers is understanding that, okay, these students have a lot of stressors, anxieties, all these kind of things. They are still children. Part of the way of building trust, rapport, relationship is creating an atmosphere or a time of play inside of our ministry. In the same way, like if you were to want to go hang out with your adult volunteer leaders, right? Your inclination may not be, we need to play a silly game together, right? Most likely what you're going to do.
We need to seriously drink coffee together. That's what we should do. Yeah. We should stand around and drink coffee together.
But I think for adults, that food element and the meeting around a table is part of the way
that they get to participate.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the way that they get to engage.
Yeah.
That's the way that we naturally as adults will do relationship.
Yeah.
And so for kids entering their world, it is across the ball field, those things.
Oh, 100%. And so talk about them a lot. My two boys have gotten really into soccer and t-ball this season, and it's so funny as the dad that doesn't really get to see them at school much, watch them on the field play together and like pick up friends and connect and do and talk about a good goal and this and that, like things that you don't see when they're just like in a classroom element. And it's such an interesting, like it happens on the rec field. It happens during times of play that you get to watch them like relate and connect. And so it matters.
The other element that I would love to discuss is it's on the student pastor side.
Okay.
I think it's real easy if we don't see fun as a way of building trust, a way of building connection, then the game time for some does feel like a waste.
Right.
And
it's the last minute thing you're always looking for because you've deprioritized it because you don't think it's important.
Yeah.
And I think that's a conversation worth having.
And I think a lot of times what ends up happening is we go for what we think is low-hanging fruit and we download a game and we don't put much effort into it.
Yeah.
And it's falls flat.
Yeah.
And then I think we start pointing to our high school students and we're like, they don't care.
They don't value fun. They don't care. They don't want fun. They want deep.
Right. And
as if those were mutually exclusive.
Right. And I think a lot of times we feel like our group doesn't like that because probably the fun that we're bringing isn't actually fun.
You didn't actually make it fun, so therefore they rejected it. So they rejected fun. What they actually rejected was your low intensity version and planning for what could have been fun.
Yeah, dude, what you presented that was
fun.
Boring was boring.
Correct. They were correct in their assessment.
Six trivia questions is always boring.
Right.
I'm sorry, it just is.
I get that you're really into all the different varieties of spam. Most are not. Right. Especially if they're not going to even eat or win spam.
Right.
If you're just discussing the merits of the different international versions of spam, whatever. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about let's keep our parameters to a normal like midweek gathering.
Yeah.
Okay. So gathering, maybe you split up your middle school, high school, but this is like quote unquote the service or whatever when we think of student ministry that I'm talking about. It is your large gathering. When you think about that time, what's some advice that you would give of how to create fun in that space?
So the fun does not start and end with the game. I think you can have a really fun environment and not play a game.
Okay.
I think a game is a way to identify an attempt at fun.
Okay.
But as you just shared, having a game is no guarantor of having fun. I think sometimes the environment that you build will lead towards fun happening. I think you think through fun in the same kind of filter you think through, is our youth gathering in space safe and inviting? Safe, fun, and inviting, I think, are three really important and operative values for how we're planning programming time and space. That sets up the things that you want to communicate. That sets up the content that you want them to absorb. That sets up the way you want them to be sent out. Because where and how they gather is as formative as the thing you were saying to or at them.
That's interesting.
Like, I don't think you can override environment with a better small group question. Like, if you're meeting in a dingy closet and have great small group questions, they're never going to land as good as meeting in a comfortable space that was warm and inviting, right? Like, if you're meeting in the dirty old mop closet, and it's funny for a week, it's, oh my gosh, there's wet mops. But if that's like what their space is, and you're like, do you guys feel like the gospel's important? They probably will say yes, but it lands differently when you're in like the disheveled closet versus like, man, there's comfy chairs and it's lamp lit and it's not fluorescent lit. And those are simple things for like comfort and inviting. Same for fun. Like, man, I want you to bring your friends. To what? We all just stand around and just kind of hang out.
Right.
like, man, don't have the game be a program element. Have it be the environment they walk into. So this is where like some folks will have like a Switch set up or they'll have board games out. But again, just having those things is no guarantee.
Yeah.
Having someone who's running a Smash Brothers tournament, fun.
Yeah.
Hey man, come here. We're actually playing Mario Kart doubles. Find a partner. You and Chris play together. It's really fun. Or a board game of like, hey, we're all going to play this quick card game or spoons or whatever, like bringing them into the environment of organized fun, but also the fun of just like conversation stuff. Like I love walking into groups where there's just an air of like the leader was given like a really fun question of like design the perfect sandwich and everybody's just having conversations about the perfect sandwich.
Yeah.
Already that's different, especially at the end when we all made sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fun. That's a fun night. Yeah.
I love that the beginning space. And I think a lot of times at a lot of student ministries that I've seen,
you set them up for how you want to take them. Yeah.
There's this habit of we get the fun elements in the room.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've got the Switch station.
Yeah.
We've got the 9 square. You know
There's
what I mean?
coffee in the corner. Yeah. I mean, it's a mess because all the cups are spilled over. But
one of the next level things that I would encourage folks to do, I think you have to have a leader at every one of those spaces.
Yes. Yep.
With a different intention.
Yeah.
So if the ministry is fun, let's take 9 square. Okay.
You can't just have a 9 square in the air.
Right.
And then you can.
But most people do.
Right. They have it set up.
They just have it set up.
Yeah.
The next level intentionality is you have at least one, probably because that one's big enough.
Yeah.
You have a line.
Yeah.
Your ministry is happening in the line.
Yeah. It's not the game itself. Right. It's the conversations in the line.
And so having a designated leader of like, hey, James, I need you at 9 square all night tonight.
Yeah.
Not just policing safety.
Right. Or fairness.
I want you to be engaging in conversation with every one of those kids that come through the line.
Yeah.
Because most of them...
They're just waiting for it. They're just there lined up waiting for it.
Your junior high kids are going to go there because it's something to do.
Yeah.
Those are great places to start the conversation of engagement.
Isaiah, what a great spike. Good job, buddy. Yeah. And then now you have a conversation point.
Yeah.
Because the game created a shared moment.
Correct.
In the same way that we love a big event for creating a long shared moment. When Isaiah dunks on Timmy, like, poof, and we're all like, whoa, something to talk about.
Yep.
If you're like, I don't know how to talk to the kids, the thing just happened. Like, you talk about the thing that just happened.
Right.
And then now you have rapport because fun created an opportunity for connection.
Yeah. The other element that I would add to that, to continue with your concept of
layering it in,
not allowing it just to be a game element, is understanding the energy and the flow of the evening.
Yeah.
I see a lot of folks that don't understand a progression.
Yeah.
And it just is from element to element.
Yeah.
And so you'll have like, I see this a lot of like intro videos.
Yeah.
People, they're like, we need a 5-minute countdown.
Right. Any countdown will do.
Right. And so they'll rip a countdown
Just any
off.
5-minute countdown will do. Yeah.
They'll rip a countdown offline.
Generic music. 10, 9, and it gets to 1, and then what happens?
Hey, students, we're going to start this evening talking about prayer.
Or nothing. Because
you're not ready yet.
You wasn't ready. Listen, if you have the countdown, you've created pressure on yourself to be ready in an exact moment. That's the reason sometimes it's right to have one, because it does create the right moment. You don't necessarily always need a countdown unless you'll always be ready. That's just like a free tip, because like if it hits 1 and nothing happens, oh man, now you're working against what you created.
The thing I'll also see is, we don't think of this element as the fun, but like I'll see a lot of times the high energy worship.
Yeah.
That's done really well.
Yeah,
right?
Big songs, we're all singing.
Big songs, they're all singing. Everybody in the room's excited. And then it just like transitions, boom, speaker on stage, that maybe the front of their talk is a little bit more like, we're in the word. Yeah. Right? Or we're into a serious thought. And a lot of times I think middle school kids get a bad rap. Yeah. Because we've taken them from like energy level 11 to like sit down and listen. Yeah. And it's just like,
too much.
My God, I was just jumping around.
Right. Or they're working their way back to their seats. That's always, and it's happened at a couple D nows. You watch it play out where like, the band is great, exciting, big song. People have moved to the front to sing, raise hands. And Fear comes out, and it's just like they're ready to waylay.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, they haven't even sat down yet. And I think, again, it's the flow. And not that like that's a matter of fun or not fun, but it's thoughtfulness. Fun is
it's a progression. And even if you come on stage, so when I travel and speak, one of the questions I'll always ask is, what is the song right before me? Because normally it is worship into your speaker. And like, if I don't know the song, it's like, what kind of energy is that?
Sing me a verse of it.
Yeah, in the green room.
Yeah.
But what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to match that.
Yeah.
Even if that's not where I'm originally going, I can put my own like personal transition of getting to come out and be like, "What's up?"
Whoa! Yeah.
And then I'm able to like kind of talk
good.
them into and then down before we get into the word. Because for most junior high kids, like if we have them at 11 and then we bring them to 4,
Right.
they're not engaged because
they're shocked.
They're still going to be focused on the other 2 kids next to them that are still at a 9.
Right.
And so you can continue to like peak that. So the thing that I would recommend doing, if there is that, like, if you're like, hey, we've got a really fun game planned.
Yeah.
We've got even myself or the interns that are dressing up.
Yeah.
And we've got this big stage thing that's going to be happening that's hopefully going to get us laughing and interacting and playing or even moving around the room.
Yeah.
Which I think are great things. Then you want to be thoughtful and be able to go, okay, out of that, what do we need to do to transition?
Pad the transition.
And it may need to be, okay, we found this video that's still kind of fun, but gets us to be thoughtful. And so you can utilize and use elements like that for those transitional pieces.
Well, and again, I think that's one of the things that's so important. It's a thoughtfulness. And it's hard work.
Yeah.
Like fun is hard work. I think sometimes people think, well, fun, that's just like easy stuff. Fun may be the hardest thing you plan.
Right.
You may spend 8 hours on your sermon, and if you only spend 8 minutes on fun, then they're going to feel it. And this is not to say that you shouldn't plan what you want to teach them. It's my hope that you hear us say that fun teaches too.
Yes.
I think that fun and the environment that you create, the welcome that it creates, the connection moments that it creates really matter. And that even matters not just in the thing that you're planning, but the way in which you're training your small group leaders. The station thing is such an important part. If your small group leaders are just waiting for their turn to teach, they're missing out on the opportunity to build connection, to help foster conversation inside of their groups. Sometimes manning the board games or playing Mario Kart with kids is the thing that actually improves the small group. I know it feels disconnected and maybe even feels silly, but the fun is the thing that helps to bridge the gap, especially for folks that are unsure of what to say. But Chad, will you take us through, because you're the best at this, what are some of the ways, fun environment, there's a whole conversation, follow up with us, we want to talk more about it, but walk us through thinking through the games that we do, because I do think the game has become part of the youth group liturgy. We have songs, we have prayers, we have sermons. Having a game is good, it can be the right thing, but how do you take like a game, not just a thing is that we like quickly download or we delegate or we offload, but how would you take and make a trivia thing not better than it is, but to take a game moment and make it all that it can be? What are some of the thoughts and questions you ask? Because you've been really good in my own life about being like, okay, that's that, but what is the another level version of it that actually makes it fun?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is I think you can take a pretty boring game
and do something cool with it.
And do something fun with it, right? Like the 6-question trivia thing can be engaging if done correctly and well.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so in some of even the ways of like the thoughtfulness of answering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like utilizing space of asking the question of, is this an upfront game?
Okay.
Is this an all crowd game?
Okay.
And even if
is this a team represented game?
Correct.
It's not just Jody and Julie. Jody is for the middle schoolers,
Right.
Julie's for the high schoolers. Now we're all invested in their success.
Yeah.
Such a small change, such an important change.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and even the price can be part of the enticement, right?
Yeah.
To be thoughtful of that, to think through like, okay, maybe for us, we don't want it just to be this like 1 week game, right? That we're going to give, let's be honest, some lame prize because we don't have a huge budget.
Right.
Like the $1 piece of candy that we got out of the bin out of Walmart.
Last year's camp T-shirt,
Right.
not a
It's
prize.
not a
Not a
prize.
prize. Yeah.
But if we've maybe for an entire series have this like guys versus girl competition.
We're running up points.
Up points.
Now there's a story. Now we got a story going.
Story,
maybe
right?
a little storyline. Maybe a little pro wrestling moment.
Yeah. Or maybe, right? Maybe your trivia, maybe your trivia is, can you beat Tim?
Yeah.
Maybe you have a very smart leader, right?
Yeah. Who's not fun or
Right.
funny, but it's funny to put him in the position of the expert on some topic. Yeah,
Dude, the setup of making a video of like Tim, to use your like wrestling metaphor, to make Tim this like big heel.
Yeah.
Like it would be awesome. And I've never done this.
No one can beat Tim.
Yeah.
In TV show
And
trivia.
Tim's just trash talking kids every week, right?
Guy comes in with sunglasses and a belt, talks about how he was born in the back of an RCA.
Yes.
He's in.
See, and that's what I'm talking about, right? Like you've taken 6
TV show question trivia.
right. That's kind of lame on itself.
Yeah.
Now it's beat Tim.
Yeah, Timmy the TV man can't be taken.
And Timmy's taunting kids every week.
Oh my gosh, Tom.
And then you let the prize build.
Yeah.
Right?
The longer it goes,
We
bigger
just
the prize.
keep building this basket.
Yeah.
If you're the one that beat Tim,
Get all the stuff in
you
the
get
best.
all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. Like you can do things like that.
Yeah.
I am a big believer.
Costumes?
Costumes?
Yeah, that's it. It's a free win. Like as a youth pastor, I love you. You should have commentaries. You should have resources. You should have studies. You should also have a box, closet, or bag of costumes. It's not wrong. Like there should be 3 or 4 wigs at the ready in your, like within reach right now, listening, playing along, either in your office or the supply closet. You should have some wigs and costumes always ready.
If you're doing shark trivia and you're not dressed up like shark,
You missed.
What are we even doing here?
If there's not Jaws theme underneath, so
Yes.
costumes,
Music.
and sound production.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, listen, you can play any pirate game you want. You put on a pirate hat, an eye patch, and the SpongeBob theme. Now we got a sauce.
And you're speaking like Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're in. Like even if the questions are lame, or it was like it's what's the birdie on the perch? We have to all catch them or whatever. Like you've got 2 of your adults in bird costumes. I'm in. I don't even know what the game is, but they're in big bird costumes and they're jumping on each other.
Yeah.
I'm in. Yeah.
I think little things like that.
Yeah.
So to go back to the answering stuff.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we just pass the mic and it's like,
What do you think?
is it A or B?
Yeah.
Not to have like note cards that they can hold up.
Yeah.
Or
write the answer, turn it over,
turn it around. Yeah, all of those.
A buzzer system is cheaper than you think it is,
Yes.
and you will get mileage out of it. Yeah.
The like pass the mic clunkiness of running the game kills the energy of it.
Yeah.
It becomes not fun to watch. I think one of the big things to remember about a game is you are trying to engage the mass and not just the person playing.
Yes. It is. You actually don't care if the 2 on stage are having fun. You care about if everybody else in the room is having fun.
Yeah.
The 2 are in on trying to make it fun, which is why the games usually go better if you pick the 2 like silly kids.
Yep.
But you can't always pick them because you got to spread the love. But you're really working to engage the whole room and not just those that are playing the game. Yeah. That's the difference.
The thing, and that's why I'll be on, just to be full transparent, why I'm kind of out on trivia, because I don't think those are fun things to watch.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable to watch 2 people pick the answer. It's much more enjoyable, even if the game is lame.
Yeah.
It's much more enjoyable watching someone chase a balloon
Right.
than it is watching them pick between 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
And so I think finding games that are enjoyable to watch, that there's an element of the surprise to it.
Yeah.
are all good elements when it comes to fun. The thing too that I would remember about this space, a lot of times we just think about the silly.
Yeah.
Fun doesn't always mean silly
Or stupid.
or stupid. It means sometimes engaging.
Yeah.
And so canceling the quote unquote game for an element in your night that's engaging to watch or view or a cool video or, you know what I mean? Like, I think that those elements done correctly at the right time, that's what we're also talking about in Ministry of Fun, of not just the trivia game or the upfront game or the pie in the face, but sometimes the fun is like hearing this kid that's one of your peers talk about what's happening in their life that actually may be more of a down moment.
Yeah, it's heavier.
But it's engaging.
Yes, yeah.
And I think for students, I think having elements, that may not be every week, because I do think you need the silly fun, but having the engagement element that I think is the draw.
Well, it's a matter of welcome disruption. And I think that's one of the things, typically when the game gets to be not fun, is it's always expected.
Yep.
When it, and you've talked about this with some of our essentials talks as we've toured around and gone with folks, if everything's always predictable, it's not fun. So some of the fun is the lack of predictability of like, I don't know what they're going to do next. And it may be as simple as moving the order around or not doing it this week and having them wonder what you are going to do. Because if it's always the same and it becomes monotonous or route, if it's just the rote thing that's always happening, it's a miss. And I think the reason that fun, at least for me, and this is what really, I think, generated the conversation why it's happening now, is your students need fun because everything else right now in the world is not fun. It's all expected, heavy, painful. Like the stories that we see on the news, the worries that they have. If you have an environment that's safe and welcoming and fun, you have created counterculture, needed counterculture for your students living in 2023. It's vital. It's necessary. And I think it's one of the things that we don't talk about enough is that we're not just creating, we want them at church because we want them to be close to us, but we can't forget that part of having them close to us is we're creating a space that may not be inhabitable anywhere else. If it isn't, school is mean. Kids are mean. The hallways are mean. Social media is mean. The news is scary. Homes are often unsafe. I pray that youth rooms and gatherings and ministries and youth groups are places that are everything that a kid should have and need. And in that way, it's good news. How would you not invite your friends to this, where you're loved and known and fed and taken care of?
Can I share with you this really weird experience that I had not too long ago? I was in the airport, and I was sitting there. I was actually on my computer doing a little work, and there was a lady that was like next to me at this table. Well, like two spaces down, okay? Because there was a guy right between us, and she got a phone call on her, earpods. Well, when you have your earpods in, like you're not real sure how loud you are.
Yeah. Well, they're right here. I can hear them right here. We can all hear you.
She started talking unbelievably loud. Okay, and you could tell did not realize how loud she was.
Is she drawing looks from people?
So she was oblivious.
Okay, she's in it, in the call.
But there was about 6 of us that were right there, and we were kind of all in this circle, so we could all see each other. And
just looking at each other.
We all started making eye contact with each other. And this lady that was right across from me kind of chuckled at one of the things she said. Because she was having a very personal, like nothing inappropriate, but like pretty personal conversation about work and life. Yeah. And you could tell she was talking to like a really good friend.
Yeah.
She giggles, and you know me, I'm like,
You're in for it. You're
dude,
in.
any absurdity or thing that's not normal,
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
And so I start chuckling. And then I'm like, I can't laugh out loud. And so then if you watched a few weeks back of like our Carpenter Ant episode,
Fall apart.
I start shaking laughing, right?
gosh. Yeah,
So I'm like Santa Claus trying to hold it in.
Yeah.
And
Heaving.
I'm
Just
like shaking.
heaving.
She starts doing the same thing. All 6 of us
Done.
are, dude, it's the funniest thing that nobody's saying. And she's like packing up her stuff to leave, which made it even better because she's oblivious. Everybody is like wiping tears, Zach. She leaves and it was just this eruption.
Just a relief.
It is the most connection I've ever had with strangers.
Okay.
Where nothing was really ever said to each other.
Okay.
She left and everybody was like, literally everybody was like, I needed that.
Yeah. Thank you for that gift.
And then we all just went back to working.
Yeah.
But you could tell that like something happened in that moment.
Yeah.
Of just fun and exciting. And these 6 people who did not know each other. I'll never see those 6 people probably ever again in my life. All share now this story.
Yeah.
And this moment together that we won't, like, I'm sitting here telling it on a podcast.
It's so good that you have to retell it.
It was really cool. It really was. I can remember being a kid, going to see the movie Dumb and Dumber in the theater.
Yeah.
Was I probably too young to be seeing that movie? Maybe.
Hard to say.
But I remember at one point, everybody in the theater was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
I remember sitting back in my chair as a kid and just watching the crowd. And like my attention went from this show that was very engaging and fun to what was happening in the audience. And I, even to this day, like I remember even that feeling. And I think it's why part of like why I love being funny is I remember seeing the audience and going, I want to make people laugh like that.
Yeah.
And I think not that what we do is this like joke fun thing, but I think realizing that like humor and fun and engagement can bring people that know each other and even strangers into this like communal environment to where we now all have this like story together. And I think it helps. It's a piece of a puzzle that starts to build community together. Adults are the same way, man. You put food out on the table, but you have conversations where you laugh and you get to know each other, and we start to build something that's enjoyable.
And just a food meal. Yeah.
Connection is made between people when we start to have shared experiences. And for many students, shared experiences of fun are opportunities to join together to remember, you remember that night that Zac dressed up like a penguin?
Right.
You know what I mean? As goofy as that is. Or you think back at some of your best camp stories with students. They'll tell these stories about, remember when we were at the volleyball pit or whatever. But oftentimes what you'll see to happen over time is students will have these huge funny moments that we all remember, but it also takes us to a space where we also retell what God's done and those really meaningful and powerful moments. And if you'll think back a lot of the conversations that you have with students or leaders that we go down memory lane, we often share the funny big moments. You see this in funerals a lot, right? We share these moments about Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
That were silly and goofy.
Can't believe he used to do those things.
You remember when he did
this?
this?
Oh my gosh.
But often then what happens is what? We take the turn of going, but man, remember how giving Joe was, or thoughtful he was. Like, we experience memories through these shared experiences, and helping create space, whether it's a normal Wednesday night or whether it's camp or winter retreat, making a tie between these funny, memorable moments and what God does helps us continue to tell that story.